Okay, I'm going to introduce our next poet, Suzanne Frischkorn. She is a Cuban-American poet, author of Fixed Star, which was published by Jackleg Press this year. She is also the author of Girl on a Bridge and Lit Windowpane, both of which were published by Main Street Rag Press. Plus, she has published 5 chapbooks. She's the recipient of the Aldrich Poetry Award for her chapbook Spring Tide, which was selected by Mary Oliver. An Emerging Writers Fellowship from the Writers Center for her book Lit Windowpane, and she received an Individual Artist Fellowship from the Connecticut Commission on Culture and Tourism. She's an editor for $Poetry is Currency and serves on the Terrain.org editorial board. Welcome, Suzanne, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Judy. Flower, that was incredible. It really was, to listen to your beautiful, visceral poems. Incredible. Thank you so much for that reading. I'm so happy, not really to follow you, but I'm going to. So, I'm going to be reading from Fixed Star, which just came out on the 15th in September. So I'm going to focus on this to give it its due, and this book is basically a quest. It's a the poems in here, they kind of like interrogate what it means to be caught between two identities and intersected by multiple landscapes and class systems and politics. And it's has 2 sonic coronas in it. And they're not in the book, they're not like, they're split up. They're like spirals in the book. And I think because you're being so generous with the time tonight, I think I'll probably read one of them, the whole, but not the first one, because it's pretty long. But I guess I'll just get started. I'm going to read the first 2 poems from the first sonic corona, which is called Cuban Palomita. I guess you probably, you're pretty close to Cuba, but Cuban palomitas, just in case, are the snails that are found only in Cuba. They're very colorful, beautiful snails. And I'm going to try and read here in the dark. You have to forgive me. Cuban Palomita. Birth cleaved me in half. The sea I grew legs in, now a dissonance. A fixed star. The Atlantic where I summer cannot diminish the dichotomy. This figurine, with its sash cinched by gold leaf, its delicate arm grafted with glue. It's the din of fiesta I hear on the boardwalk, that green button of memory, an earring tucked into an envelope, found in a bureau with the scarves. Found in a bureau with the scarves, an imprint of identity, a single gold ball stud, evidence of cultural piercing, a lace dress, a first language, all myths once we moved north. Washed on shore, we lost our heritage. Sometimes it happens when you're standing. Watch yourself. Perhaps it's as effortless as drifting. The soft light of a street lamp on a November morning, taking the edge off the stars. My body as a communist country. Its betrayal totalitarian. Skin dry as parchment, lit by the slightest brush. The scent in our sheets sets off chimes, a measure until you return. The minutes I swallow whole. Castro, you've nothing in Cuba like my desire. My body's capitalism, greedy. It's a slow jam in a darkened room, keeping time with the DJ. It's lyric. The blue light of aging shadows desires waking. 10 years from now, we'll wonder at this. My body's exacting power, brooking no opposition. Let's see. Papaya. This poem actually mentions the movie from the 90s called Blow with Johnny Depp and Penelope Cruz. Papaya. In Blow, a scene with Penelope Cruz was so like a mirror. I said, "Oh, I'm Latina." I didn't know the papaya tree, scars on its trunk as its fruit ripens and falls, or of its pale blooms, its fecund seeds, its carnival hue. If you speak quickly, I will understand if I don't try to understand my first language. You must understand it was stolen. Legend, song, all of it. A fading stain by firing squad. What it means to be Cuban hyphenated. It means I'm on a journey. Is the soil blood red or brick red? To witness miles of tobacco's green waves. Yes, I know, no yearning for the island or talk about a mango tree in the backyard, Carol City. What about burrs in the grass pricking my feet? Graffiti? My Cuban sitter built a tiled shrine to Mary, my only mother. I sat at her feet for days. What it means to be Cuban hyphenated? I don't know. My father's from Cuba. I'm American. He wanted me to learn one language really well. Nascent. The quest brought its own interstellar medium in the end. She was matter between stars in a galaxy of stars. The yoked constellations, capitalist and communist, rang bright on her skin. Fidel, is it cold in Cuba? She is nascent still, because her body is here and she is not. A numinous zephyr lily of love, cloistral and cognizant, laminated to each star. Suzanita is but one stria here. The lathe is the sinew and the cloche terracotta. Entiendo. The royal palms have closed up shop. Well, thank you. Palm tree cento. This is not something I've just learned. There was a sphere with dark patches like mountains, and I swear by the stolen image, you should listen to what they are hinting. Over there, evil and good actually have faces. How I would like to believe in tenderness, to know that light falls and fills often without our knowing. I am not speaking of rose windows. Here, after a meager diet of horizon, is some scenery. All the leaves stuck out their tongues. I'm going to read 9 and 10 of Cuban Palomita. Thanks, you guys. It's very nice. It's an odd form of capitalism. In the stands, the man with his hands on his hips and his head tilted back searches for answers. People, man. They love hurting people. Whatever these women do, like others, they want to see the world. The money change happened so fast, nobody had time to think. And while I could end there, I have no desire to. I need a history more complete. So I continue with my father's story, making up details as I go along. making up details as I go along. I held my hands up to the generals. I walked around investigating the endless star, an empty net, the fish trapped inside the wind. The first night was wonderful, adrift amid the remnants. In the empty house, I hear the sea. The boats were manned by brothers, uncles, cousins, blood ties, a bond love can twist. All the years by the sea taught her every definition of blue. There was a lot of lechery and disorder, and I am queen on that island. In March of 2003, Normando Hernandez Gonzalez was among 75 Cuban journalists who were arrested in what became known as the Black Spring. And this next poem was found in interviews on his experiences. Black Spring. I held my breath under the bed, curled like a knot against the wall. They searched cars, searched everything, searched everywhere. A small incandescent bulb lit 24 hours a day. I always talked. If I had the desire to speak, I spoke. My only sunlight hours, Monday through Friday at noon. All 7 of us remained in solidarity. We began our hunger strike on the 13th of August. They took everything, including the mattress from the bed. All they left me was my underwear. The cell was completely boarded up, a small crack at the top of the door. If I stood on 5 books, I could look out into the prison. There was not an inch of me without a mosquito bite. Small red bumps on every part of my body. I never could sleep in that cell. To get through something like this, you think about your family. I believe that was my wife's saddest experience. She doesn't even like to speak of it, of when they let her see me. I didn't stand up when they did head counts. I wouldn't dress in prisoner's clothes. I never addressed any guard or official by rank. I was beaten with rubber sticks. In Cuba, even to breathe is illegal. To breathe. If you breathe the air and while taking it in, you don't praise the government, you are being unlawful. It's as if the sky and the earth are going to come together and crush you, and no one will notice it's happening. Leaving prison was like being born with experience. Everything I do is motivated by love. There are remnants that remain. I would like to forget, but unfortunately, I cannot forget. And this is how it is. I'm going to read number 11 from Cuban Palomita. And I am queen on that island. I am and will always be a Mariana in combat. Dear Captain, with urgency, I am answering your note. Be assured, I repeat, we will strictly observe the truce. At that moment, we were all Cubans. This is what we call the war of the entire people. How are they going to defeat our people? How are they going to defeat our revolution? Each woman knows what to do. So strange to read in silence, you know? It's very quiet in my studio. Exilio. Conch shell pink. The sky echoes an ocean, a song weighted with pearls and sea glass. Mercedes, what did you make of Miami? Did it taste like sunlight on your wrist? White mariposa replaced by ribbon orchid, jasmine, a scent of dreams, and flamenco, castanets cast on the ground. Your granddaughter will seek you in 100 mirrors. In Castile, in Cuba, she'll twine the history with silver thread. The ocean will rise up to whisper in her ear. La Dama Azul. This castle is nothing more than a sleepless sentinel. Restless, I know each wave of the Spanish Main and pace this fortress along its high walls. Only in the chapel do I discover solace. What is the nature of obsession? It is desire, desire for the return of your galleon, mi amor, mi corazón. I am almost invisible with longing. All that is left of me, a shadow of raw blue silk. This morning, a young officer was found with his broken sword beside him, a skull, and a blue cloak. The guards claim I drove him mad. Spanish. Speak its measured notes. Recall the year long in paper. The cargo ship's scent, a single rolling wave. The sailors, tick them off your fingers, melodious. Listen, you cannot even name his brothers. And Abuelas becomes a hymn. Mercedes, Mercedes, Mercedes. A song to weed the garden by. Mercedes. This is how we lose the language, how we lose ourselves to myth, to legend, and how you find me with regrets only. Jasper. Oleander divides the highway like a rill. Its blossoms spill their wan scent. We pass sunflower fields scorched by government light and power line poles wearing large brown hats. No, not hats, stork nests. Listen to wind cut by wing. The way to Cordoba, mi hijo, is to follow the silver leaf of an olive tree as it drifts and loops along arid soil. First, go to the sea, its bed of soft stones and alchemy for sorrow, its salt like baptism. Here, sunshine sends you to bed. Pink oleander whisper the formula for everlasting life, and hope is forever caught in the almond tree. Jasper's opaque hues stain your skin. It's the myth you carry home. Letra. I discovered Cuba chiseled in Retiro Park, glimpsed Cuba secondhand and Canadian. Cuba in picture books, its myths tangled, paper cigar rings, cigar box treasure. Cuba, I will come to liberate you, I promised, and toasted Cuba Libre with some Costa Rican ladies. They laughed and laughed and laughed. That was funny, they said. On the terrazzo, drank café con leche, took dawn with Spanish sky. I've yet to meet a flamingo I didn't like, and still the stork evades me. In Cuba, right now, someone conducts a symphony of furtive braiding for a tourist. She'll leave before the last braid is half done. Taurus. She'll leave before the last braid is half done and recall a store closed for her business, the Nike articles she stripped off her skin, and the confectioner's sugar beaches. Santiago, Habana, you don't remember. Yet the sting of her vacation chases you home like an errant wasp, a constant hum in either ear. She spoke of Cubans as some speak of children, how sweet and how desperate. That was a stupid thing I did, going to someone's home for braids. She means the scent of fear overcame the stench of poverty. It touched her white skin. A moment longer, it may not have rubbed off. I think I only have a few more, like 3. Andalusia. A moment longer, it may not have rubbed off. The bougainvillea stain, its wine blossom. Rough is the face of Serranía de Ron, and rough the sand that spills from your palm. Darker than expected, night over the Mediterranean Sea. Strange to you, these hot stars, white like mijas, and their scent as hard. Had you known, would you still complete the journey? No habla español. Habla inglés, por favor. ¿Qué hora es? Time. We are speaking of time. How long it takes a stain to set, a flower to blossom. More than a morning. The Acanto-inspired columns. And nothing you promise will coax the palomas to follow you home. Sevilla. Coax the palomas to follow you home with a 1-2 beat. Conga, as if the last moment had arrived, your percussion pulse at its end. Rhythm gets you everywhere, your hips most. Flamenco staccato beat brands your skin. Sevilla dares the moon to dance with stars. The love letter hidden in your pocket from where the palm tree grows. Susanita, read it again, smooth its creases. Guantanamera, Guajira Guantanamera, your navigator and your compass. Green, how I love you green, under the gypsy moon. Things are looking at you and you cannot look at them. And the last one, thank you, is closes this Corona, Granada. Things are looking at you and you cannot look at them, lavender daisy, alone in a green sea. If you must drown, it's best to be lavender and alone. Here in the general life gardens, morning glories bloom in mass. A visitor wonders how exile fell on Moors, harbingers of water's secrets. They who carve verses on their walls. You lose yourself, or perhaps wish to. Late summer garden, you have duende too. Leaving is difficult. Sometimes to stay invites death. I am speaking of the firing squad, of having cafe with a friend on Monday and learning of his death on Tuesday. Come and see the blood in the streets. I came to the source, seeking the shape of my eyes, my nose. I passed as a native and at last found a way home. I discovered Cuba in Retiro Park. Thank you guys so much. Very kind.
Thank you, Suzanne, very much for reading your beautiful, powerful work to us tonight. Wonderful.
Thank you. This is wonderful to be here.